Welcome back. Today we are combining authentication and authorization in ASP.NET Core. Not just logging users in, but protecting the right pages, actions, and data with bulletproof authentication and authorization. All in one place, whether you are building for real customers or learning for your next big project. This is the core security setup you must get right. So let's dive in. We have seen that we have got a cart, this is a product view in which there are a few flowers, and if you click on add to cart without increasing the quantity, it will add to the cart. If you click on OK, it will add to the cart. It will register through the JavaScript, and if you click on show cart, it will give you the cart view, and you are able to remove the cart or edit the products. So let's go to our Visual Studio. Let's close this and go to Visual Studio and come back to our Solution Explorer and our project and start coding the next part. So the next part for authentication and authorization, there is a content on Microsoft Learn. I will put it in the details in the description of the video, and you can see that you can add it as a reference. You can use it as a reference, which I have also used, and there is a scaffolding mechanism in place, which I will show you soon. Please hang on till the end of this tutorial to get the full value out of this tutorial. And let's right click, add, and new scaffolded item. So I'm going to get a scaffolded item, and here you can see that there are a lot of installed items already there, but I will click identity and click on add. So it will add the identity scaffolding, and it will come up with some choices which you'll see. So now friends, on the add identity wizard, I have the choice of overriding all of these files, but these files are not available. So what I will do, select an existing layout page or specify a new one. Okay, so here this in my case, the layout page will be here. If you close this for a while, my layout page, where is my layout page? My layout page, I'll have to cancel this one also. Views, shared layout. So I already have an existing layout page. So what I will do, I will come back again to the project level, right click and add a new scaffolded item, and click on identity and add, and it will come back again with the same screen as earlier. Now this time I will click on this ellipsis button, 3 dots, which will take me to the project folders on the left hand side, and then views, and then shared, and then layout.cshtml, validation scripts partial.cshtml, error.cshtml, and I'll highlight this, or even if I don't highlight this, then it will be great. So I'll have to highlight this and click on OK, and then it will be there, view shared layout.cshtml. Okay, and tilde is the relative path to the views, and then shared and layout.cshtml, and then DB context class. Here it is required. Now my DB context class, I'll have to add a new data context for identity. You see, if you recall, we have a data context class product DB context, which was here in the data folder. There is a product context class, but this is an identity DB context we will add, because we need to create some tables for the identity. If you are already coming from the ASP.NET Core background, and if you have earlier created a project which uses individual user accounts, then automatically some tables are users table, role, and several other tables are automatically created. But this time I am going to integrate those tables into my existing project that didn't have authentication or authorization. So click on this button, and it is letting me add a data context. New data context type is this. So it is a very large database context type. So what I can cut short, I can customize this, and let me customize this, take this part off, make it as short as possible for remembering, for the sake of brevity. E-commerce shopping cart, ASP.NET 8 context, or you can simply say it e-commerce identity. Anything you'd like. E-commerce identity context. All right. E-commerce, let me see any typo is there or not, because I don't like having typos, even though it is forgiving that way. So click on add, and this will add the DB context class. Okay, new DB context class. And database provider in my case is I will go for SQLite, because we are using MS SQL local DB, as you are already aware of. So that is SQLite. And user class, okay, let us create a user class, and let us give it a name, suitable name, like e-commerce. Okay, let it be like e-commerce user. Okay, just make it short and simple as possible, and click on add. This will add all the NuGet packages required, and updating the dependency information. And let's see, we'll come back after this is over. Scaffolding, see that this has already scaffolded an areas folder, which was not there available earlier. So within the areas, there is an identity folder created, and there is a data folder created, which have this two. This is the context class that we have asked it to create, and this is the e-commerce user class. So e-commerce user class is deriving from identity user class. It is a child class of identity user. Here you can create some property values, like the user's properties, like full name, email address, phone number, etc., etc. So let's create just one property. Okay, just better to leave with just one property for the time being, at least. So public string, full name. Okay, click on save, and then in this context class, so in this e-commerce identity context class that is created when we scaffolded the identity, which derives from, or which extends the identity DB context with e-commerce user. Now here you got this on model creating method, which accepts a builder parameter of model builder type. It is written that customize the ASP.NET identity model and override the defaults if needed. For example, you can rename the ASP.NET identity table names and more. But I will go with the default that will be created, as we'll soon see. But before creating the migration, see, at the moment there's no migration folders. So we'll add a migration, and before that we need to do some changes in the program.cs class, program class. Okay, so by default, when we are creating the identity scaffolding, you can see this line was not there, and this has been added automatically by the scaffolder builder.services add default identity e-commerce user. You remember a step back. If you get a step back, you can see that e-commerce user was the name that was given by me for the e-commerce user class, which is again here, e-commerce user. And then going back to the program class, options, which options with the lambda expression, options.signin.required confirmed account equals true, add entity framework stores e-commerce identity context. So it was automatically added. So Now we have to add another line. After app.user routing, we'll bring in the extension method app.useAuthorization. Authorization is already there, so authentication, use authentication. All right, so between routing and use authorization, you have to place this authentication, use authentication extension method for authentication to work before the authorization. So another thing that we could do is to in the layout.cshtml file, we can bring in the login partial view. This we can place over here. So below the div and above the UL class, unordered list class, we'll have to place this. We'll place login partial over here. Basically it is giving me the ahref, so I will actually revert back. So I'll just paste this markup partial name login partial. So if you look at login partial method here, login partial, it is already open, I think. So you see, if sign in manager dot is signed in, if the user is signed in, then it will show hello and the user's name, user manager dot get username, giving the user details, and it will show the logout form. It will show the welcome form, hello form, and the logout form. But if on the other end the user is not logged in, it will show the you have to either register, or if you are already registered, just log in. Okay, so register and login will be there in the navigation buttons. All right, and another thing that we have to look in before going for the migration is if you double click this, there is this NuGet package which is very important. Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.Diagnostic.Entity Framework Core, which was already there in my case, the latest version 8. All right. So now we are ready for the migration. So remember, we have got this SQL Server Object Explorer and the database. And the database at the moment, e-commerce Flower DB, all that we have got is dbo.product. Now, before doing the identity schema migration to add all those identity table, there's one just last step, one small step, that is, we have got this e-commerce identity context created for us automatically through the scaffolding mechanism. Now you can see that earlier we have got an add DB context with product context, so that product context was registered. Now similarly we'll have to register e-commerce identity context. So we'll copy these two lines and change the bits. So instead of product context, this will have our e-commerce identity context. But for that, we'll have to bring this areas identity and data table. So using I think it's already there, using e-commerce shopping cart ASP.NET 8.areas.identity.data. So this will not be required. So I'll just comment it out. Okay, so instead of product context, we will have this, it should be there, e-commerce identity context. So I got it, the correct one. And rest of the things are the same because we are going to use the same default connection. same connection string that we are using for the product context. So just save it and then bring tools and package manager console. And here I will add, no, that's not the right one. So add migration. Paste from my clipboard. The build started. Create identity schema, context, e-commerce, identity context. And if everything is all right, its migration is already added. So you see the migrations folder, you've got this snapshot and create identity schema files already there. So if you look into the snapshot first, so it gives a model snapshot, and in the build model it has got an entity, model builder.entity, and it has got all the schemas, code necessary for creating the schema for the identity. All right, for all the tables is so this table, if you are familiar with this notation, identity.data. E-commerce user, it will create one table and it will create another table, identity role, and then identity role claim, etc., etc. And if you see this file, see, I have given it a name, create identity schema. Okay, and it has created the partial class with the same name, and it derives from migration. It has got these tables will be created with ASP.NET role, ASP.NET users, ASP.NET role claims, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we'll bring up our the next and the last step is so tools again, and package manager console, and I have to update the database. The step is to update the database with the same e-commerce identity context. So paste it. So you can see all those SQL queries are automatically created and done. All right, great. So let's see our result, output, final output. So we'll actually refresh the SQL server, databases, e-commerce flower DB, tables, and you can see all the tables are there already. ASP.NET users, dbo.product was there, and these all other tables have been created as a result of authentication and authorization through identity schema. So great. Now let's test this, how it looks like. So click on this green icon for running the application. So I have got already on my other screen. So let us bring it over on the screen where I am recording. You have got this register and login. So register. It is not opening at the moment. Let's see. Now, before running the application, I had to make two more changes in the program class or program file. That was, if the application environment is a development environment, then use migrations endpoint. Okay, app.use migrations endpoint. And if it is not development environment, then use the exception handler /home/error and use HSTS. Okay, this is optional. You may get rid of this. Okay, this is the adding middleware to add a strict transport security header, but for demonstration or training purposes, it is not required. But you have to also add app.mapraiser pages. So if you now run this application, so now this register, you can register okay, with an email. Say for me it is just test 1 2 3 4 for registering. Parse at least one non-alphanumeric character. Okay, so test 1 2 3 4 at the simplest one, and then register. SQL exception: cannot insert the value null into column full name table e-commerce. Column does not allow nulls. Insert fails. Okay, so that is another thing. So he can, to correct this error, that's simple actually. So what I will do, this our user table is automatically created. So I will use string full name and potential fixes, non-nullable property, make it nullable. Okay, string nullable. All right, and then run this application once more. So now I had created a nullable full name, but I have to update the database again. Okay, so again run this update database command, and it's all done. Now let's run this application and see the output, if it is working all right or not. If you're lucky, if we are all right in our approach, it should work now as required. So register, a database operation, they are pending model changes, add migration. Okay, so I'll have to add another migration and then update the database. All right, that's not an issue. I will do that and come back again. Now after correcting all the migration and doing the migration again, because we have changed the model for the e-commerce identity user, we have made it a full name nullable string, and I have done everything to add the migration once again and update the database, and then everything is working fine. I have created the registration and click here to confirm your account. Okay, because this app doesn't use a real email sender registered, and then click here to confirm my account. Thanks for confirming your email, and then I can log in with my credential. Let's see, the password is again test 1 2 3 4 at. Just you can confirm from here and then log in, and I am logged in already. Hello davidkaushik@gmail.com. log out. I can log out. That's it. So now just so you could log in, but if you log in as one user, say test@gmail.com, you have this data. Okay, now if you log out, first of all, the logout was not getting me to the product page. That was one problem. And secondly, if I had logged in as some other user, say the couple of users that I have created, test@hotmail.com, if I log in, I'll still see the same data. Okay, and if I log out, it will not bring me to the product page, which it should. Okay, so now I will bring this application forward and build upon this part 3 to add all that is necessary to make it an enterprise scale application. So hang on, and I will show you the demonstration of the what it looks like at the end of this lecture. So just sit tight, take a cup of coffee, and watch this video from start to finish. So let me quickly tell you how it will look like at the end of this lecture. So log in, test@hotmail.com. If you log in, I've got just one product, account item. Okay, now if I add to cart any other product, click on add to cart, product added to cart. That much I have demonstrated in the earlier parts. Okay, if you haven't seen any of these parts, please do visit the playlist and the description of this video before moving forward. Okay, now if you click on show cart, it has got these two items. Okay, now if you log out, now remember these two items were there on this user. Okay, for this user, and if you log out and log in as some other user, test@gmail.com, now you have got a different set of different cart. So if you see, click on show cart, this will be the cart, and if you remove this item and if you log out, okay, if you log out and re-log in as test.gmail.com, so you have just this item, African Daisy 1. So this is the beauty of authorization. So it will be a very involved session. So please remain seated, and if you have any question, put it in the description column. Thank you. So guys, let's switch over to the next slide. What's in this agenda? Modify the products controller to use identity for authorization. Let's be quick. Modify the cart controller to be compatible for authorization checks for authenticated users, and then modify the cart model. We already built the cart model, but we need to have a separate user ID property for tracking the users, because we are going to be authorizing the user to view only specific data. And also we need to modify the item model, introducing navigation and mapping between the tables, modify the product context to add the cart and the items table, and create the complex relationship between cart, items and products, and perform the database migrations. Remember, the completed my application that I showed also has more tables than the product table. It will have cart table, items table, because I need to actually create the relationship between these tables. So I'll have to re-perform the database migration. And here is a cart storage mechanism. If you recall from my earlier 3 lectures, we have not implemented the database. I mean, in strict terms, we had made a session implementation. So the user request comes to the cart service, and all the data is stored in session. So it was temporary data for browser session. Instead, now we will be using the database storage. Persistent data we'll use for transaction support. And for a cart data lifecycle, this is the diagram that I created. This is the database implementation, the one that we are going to complete, the advanced implementation with the user, cart service and database, and then user is adding to the cart and beginning the transaction, and it's committing, and from the database you get it through the cart service. And previously the earlier implementation was all session implementation. So user, cart service, session, add to cart, get the session and save session. Okay, so there are a lot of things involved over here. Let's switch over to Visual Studio once again and start coding. So for this lecture, my approach will be to do the minimum amount of coding. Rather than that, use some smart approach of copying over the existing code to make it more feature rich, and then explain each and every line or the salient points. That way it will save me from making it a huge or very large video, which nobody has the time to go through. So I will not show you line by line typing of the code or editing the code, but I will follow this approach which I have just told. So let's see the index method. All right, so we'll change the index method. So I have already copied over the revised code on this index, and don't worry about this squiggly line. This is a compile error which will get cleared eventually when I change the cart service. Okay, so please be patient for a few minutes before I do everything. Okay, now what are the changes? There is an authorization check. This snippet determines if the user is authenticated by obtaining the user ID. Okay, so var user ID user.identity this is a nullable identity or nullable name. If it is true, then you will take the name of the user, or otherwise it will be just logged in as a guest. Okay, assuming the username is used as the user ID. Okay, and if this user ID is null or empty, then it will return an unauthorized response. The authorization check is absent. Okay, this is the authorization check. And now for this cart retrieval, this cart is retrieved asynchronously using the await context.product await cart service.get cart async, and you are passing the user ID, which likely fetches the cart specific to the authenticated user. Okay, so the primary difference between this and the earlier part was that the earlier part, the version 3 up to version 3 or part 3, it didn't have the user ID associated with the cart retrieval. Okay, and it lacks the authentication step, and it retrieved the cart without associating it with a specific user. Now, due to the fact that I don't like these squiggly lines to stay for a long time, because it hampers, it provides an impediment for building this or compiling this code successfully. So let me switch over to shuffle around a bit. So I will start with editing my services class, that is cart service and iCart service, because for changing the cart service I need to change the interface first before I change the implementation. Alright, so this iCart service at the moment, it has got add item, remove item, clear cart and get cart. These are all returning void, and these are all synchronous operations. So it will be now improved in this version. So how it will be improved? So this will be improved by copying over this cart. Now this code, here you can see that everything is being returned as task of on cart, get cart, async. You are still passing user ID, and this is add to cart async. Okay, and update cart, which was not there in the earlier version. In the part 3 version, we didn't have any update cart, and remove item async, user ID and product ID I am passing, and clear cart async. Alright, so accordingly our cart service will also change. So you can see all these squiggly lines again, because it says that cart service does not implement interface member iCart service.get cart async or add to cart async. So let us fix all of this by bringing in the necessary code changes in the cart service class. So first we'll retain the first two lines, private read only product context underscore context, and this property I HTTP context accessor. This is this type. The object is HTTP context accessor underscore HTTP context accessor. These two will be required, but here this part, so I don't need to create an instance of cart class here, and then the constructor, public constructor, it is still more or less the same, but I don't need to get rid of this line. Okay, so let us remove these lines altogether, delete this line, save it, and now instead of get cart, I'll have to make it get cart async. And let us make it async operation. First of all, I need to pass a user ID. Alright, so it was happy with me returning a cart, but I want to make it an async operation. Okay, async operation, because all these enterprise operations are in ASP.NET Core. Method should be async. By its own nature, you need to make all the operation, or so all the tasks, all the methods need to be asynchronous rather than a synchronous operation, normal synchronous operations. So I'll make it async task of cart. T result, you can see get cart async. Now this method will be much more involved. In a second I will tell you how. Okay, return cart. Now guys, you can see there are a lot of squiggly lines or runtime error, which is expected because I am going to change. There are lots of dependencies that needs to be created for this new project. I mean, it's sort of new project because there are large scale changes. So cart, it says product context does not contain a definition for carts. So hang on, we'll do it. We'll make all the necessary changes to make it compatible. And user ID, cart does not contain a definition for user ID. And let's focus only on this method. Okay, other methods are to be changed. Now this is the most important file. Let me tell you in the beginning, cart service file and the cart controller. Okay, so biggest changes will come there. Now if you recall, I have already told in the beginning in this slide that these are the changes. So that was just a guideline. So if you look into this, so I need to modify the product context. I need to modify the database migration. But after that, actually I should write that perform changes, modify the cart service and iCart service, which I will not write. So now I have added these two, which was missing. Modify the iCart service and cart service to make them compatible with the new features. All right. Now let's move back to the code. So I have to change the product context and cart. Let's do them now. So where is my cart class? Let us do it one by one. So product context doesn't contain a definition of carts, and then cart class needs to be changed. So either way, let us change the let's see the product context class. So data, this is the product context class. So on to my product context class, so I introduced two new DB sets to be converted into carts and cart items. These need to be converted into the appropriate tables, which we'll do. Okay, now this model on model creating also needs to change. How it will change? Let us show you. So instead of this line of code, model builder dot entity product dot to table product, I will replace it with this entire new things. So these are the relationships. Okay, you can see model builder dot entity and item has one to one and one to many, and has foreign key cart ID. And similarly for item entity, which are not there in the database as it is, but they will be created. All right. Now I need to create this product ID. Okay, and I need to fix the cart. All right, so that I will do. Let me save this. Now before I fix the item model or item class, let me change a thing. There is some flaw. It's not exactly a flaw, but one of my community members pointed it out, that why I have used in registering this cart service. Why did I use add transient for registering the cart service in the program class? Why not add scoped or add singleton? So actually transient is not the best idea. it still works because it's just a prototype. It's not a full production version, but I would definitely like to go for add scoped here. So let us convert it into or change the builder.services for the services collection, iService collection. I would like to use, I will change it to add scope. Change it to add scoped cart service. Why? So why should I change it to add scope? So again, this add scope method, this is recommended for cart services. Why? Because a cart is typically tied to a user session or a request. Scoped services ensure a single instance of the cart service is used for the duration of an HTTP request. For example, when a user adds or removes items during a single request, the scoped service maintains consistency. And in an API that works with user sessions or tokens, scoped service can use session data to load and update the cart. And why not transient? A transient service creates a new instance every time it is requested, which would not maintain the cart state across multiple requests or operations in the same requests. So it could be used for operations like calculating discounts or login, which doesn't need to persist state. However, it works here also, as So why the add transient still works? Because it is in our current implementation, it relies on sessions or database for persistent, and it's stateless across operations. However, switching to add scope aligns better with best practices and ensures consistency as our application scales or introduces features that depend on state persistence during the life cycle of a request. That's why. So coming back to, let me close all but the item which needs to be changed. Coming back to the item class, which will now change. Close all, close other tabs. Okay, save, and we'll now change item class. Now, how the item class is going to be changed? First of all, we only had a public product for navigation, but we didn't have even item ID. So now we'll introduce this ID. Public int ID get set. This is the primary key for Entity Framework core, and then it's not name, public string, cart ID. So foreign key to the cart. Okay, this will be acting as a foreign key to the cart, and this is all right. Now I need to introduce the product ID as well. First of all, I'll just tab it and then correct it. Public string, product ID gets it. Okay, quantity is all right. Double get return. Product into price into quantity. And then for a navigation property, public cart. These two are navigation properties. Okay. Now let's quickly understand the use and significance of these foreign key and these navigation property. So the cart ID and the product ID are used to establish relationship between the item and cart and between item and product. Item and cart and item and product. Okay, and they ensure referential integrity and facilitate efficient data retrieval. All right, so going in a bit depth, so the cart ID property is essential because the cart can contain multiple items. The cart ID helps in identifying which cart an item belongs to, facilitating operations like adding, removing, or updating items in a cart. Similarly, product ID is a foreign key to the product table from item, and its purpose is also the same, similar, like each item in the cart represents a product. Okay, each item in the cart represents a product that a user intends to purchase. The product ID helps in fetching product details like name, price and photo, which are essential for displaying the cart contents and calculating the total cost. And also by including the product navigating property and cart navigation property, they help in, first you can easily access product details, name, price, etc. without needing an additional query, and this is useful for displaying product information in the cart and calculating the cost of each item. And similarly for cart, by including cart navigation property, you can easily access the cart details that the item belongs to. This can be useful for operations that involve the entire cart, such as calculating the total cost of all items in the cart or displaying the cart's context. Now that the item class is fixed, now it is edited. Now let's see the look of product context, because we are getting some errors owing to the item class being the old one. So now everything is okay. Now there's no squiggly lines, no compile errors. Now let's revisit our cart service. Okay, so let's open the cart service, and it is still not implementing. So this will stay till I include all the methods, change all the methods in the cart service class to implement the iCart service interface fully. But till that time, this is include is there and show potential fixes. It is a matter of including this library. So bring in this library, Microsoft.Entity Framework Core, and that takes care of this part also. And this one is actually cart does not contain a definition of user ID. Okay. What is So let's see the cart class. Let us fix the cart class also. That needed to be fixed. So it doesn't have the user ID. Now let's fix the cart class also. So let's make a user ID. So another public property of string type, user ID. Now save it, and if you go back, so this is gone in front of you. So squiggly line is gone now. So there is not going to be any compile error or even runtime error because of this. So we have taken care of this entire method getCart async. Now we'll actually revise the add item method and any other method which will be impacted. Now revisiting the iCart service that we have already changed, we have got now add to cart async. Now so in the cart service also we'll change this entire method. We'll get rid of this and instead we'll get it from our clipboard. So now I have changed this method, existing method, to add to cart async. Now add to cart async was already there. It accepts user ID, a product ID and an int quantity. Okay, so user ID, product ID and int quantity. This is our add a product to the cart method. Okay, so what we have done here is we are creating a cart object by awaiting on getCart, calling the getCart async and passing the user ID, calling this getCart async and passing the user ID which we receive from this as an argument, and then we create a product and assign it the right side with an await keyword because it's an async operation, async method. So await underscore context dot product dot find async and passing the product ID. So we got user ID as well as product ID, and we utilize both for finding the cart and the product. Okay, and context we get from here, underscore context by dependency injection. All right, and this will keep on protesting because I haven't yet implemented all the methods, which we will do in due course of time. Just hang on with me. Now, if the product is already in the cart, if it is not null, then existing item, I am creating another variable, is to be found from cart, this cart variable dot items. A cart has got items because cart is items. So cart dot items dot first of default, to get the first of default, and it returns the first element of the sequence that satisfies the condition of default value if no such element is found. So we got the item goes to item dot product id equals the product id. This is the lambda expression. Okay, so item has got product id, item has got product id. So item dot product id is equated to the product id, which is incoming into the argument, which comes from the argument to this method. Okay, so now we'll check for existing item not being null. If the product exists, first case we checked if the product is already in the cart, and if the product exists, second case, if it is not null, then we increase the update its quantity, and to the context we call the update method, context.cartItems.update, and pass this existing item. Okay, so cartItems.update. Now where does this update method comes from? Go to definition. Okay, this is from the metadata entity framework, because it is decompiled. Update method, we didn't write that update method, it's there built in. Okay, so to the cart item context we are updating and passing the existing item. Else, if the product doesn't exist, okay, so if existing item is null, then we add a new item, okay, by this constructor, by this so a new item is created, passing the product id quantity from the incoming argument, product id and quantity, and then creating the cart id, assigning the cart id as from the cart.id, because we've created the cart, so it has to have a id. Okay, id property is there. And then to the cart we are adding this new item, cart.items.add new item, and to the context we add this new item, and then save the changes asynchronously. Now here you can see that I am using this GitHub Copilot, which I have subscribed. You may not, but you can ask it to ChatGPT or even Google it. But since I have used the GitHub Copilot, I have asked Ask Copilot. Now here, this is, I just forgot what this notation is called. This is known as object initializer. So what does this object initializer do? A new item object is created, and the product ID, quantity, and cart ID properties are set using an object initializer. This approach is concise and improves the readability by reducing the need for multiple statements to set each property individually. Right, great. Now next is the update method. So update method is called update cart async. Okay, so going back, now here I will change this method completely, signature and the body. So public async task update cart async, and I am passing the cart object. So context.carts.update. So I am calling the update methods in the context and passing the cart object, and then save the changes asynchronously. Okay, again this is a entity framework core change tracking. All right, so if you peek into definition, you will get back to it returns this. This is the source. So you can have a good read. Begins tracking the given entities and see are they reachable entities that are not already being tracked. Okay, you can get it in more details, and then asynchronously it saves the changes. And then finally remove items async, and I don't need this method at all. I don't need this method at also. And then I need to implement remove items asynchronously, remove item async, and clear cart async. So these are the two methods I need to implement in the implementing class cart service class. Okay, so I will get rid of this method, unnecessary code. I will also get rid of this method, and in the remove item, this will be remove item async, in keeping with our notation of creating everything asynchronously. And string user ID also, it requires user ID and the product ID. So product ID is already there, string user ID. So I will supply string user ID. Okay, great. Now here I am initializing cart by calling this getCart method. So instead I will await on the getCart. Yes, which method? GetCart async, and pass this user ID. Yeah. And item to remove is cart.items.first or default. So this one will be intact. This line is intact. I don't need to change this. And if item to remove not equals null, if there is some item to remove, cart.items.remove item to remove, and then because this is no more available, what I will do instead, I will in the context dot cart items dot remove, see item to remove, already written, prompted to me by the GitHub Copilot. And then again, see, just that's the beauty of AI. GitHub Copilot await context dot save changes async. So all of you who are not subscribed to GitHub Copilot, or you don't have any access to the GitHub Copilot through your office, and would love to still get these changes, you can always look for other sources like any AI tool, Cloud.ai, or good old ChatGPT from OpenAI, and you'll get all these codes. I mean, if you're in difficulty. Okay, so clear cart async. The last method to be implemented is clear cart async. So let me make this quick by copying. And I passed a user ID here. So var cart, await, again calling get cart async and supplying the user ID to fill my cart variable. And if cart is not null, then remove it. And again, context.save changes async. I mean, it looks like it is more or less the same, but anyway, whether it is used or not, I have created this just to satisfy our cart service. Okay, just to satisfy the implementation of iCart service, which you may get rid of if you feel it is not required after completing the project. So back to cart service. Now here there is a squiggly line. Let us read what this squiggly line says. It says cart service does not implement interface Remember iCard service dot remove item async. It cannot implement iCard service dot remove item async string because it does not have the matching return type of task. Okay, so when I wrote this one async void, it is no more void. Async task, it has to be async task. All right, and now you have got rid of all these squiggly lines. Now let's dare build the project by pressing the hotkey combination Ctrl Shift and B, and let's see what happens. Does it build? So it comes up with so many errors, 6 errors. Card service doesn't contain a definition of update card and no accessible blah. So here this is all the errors as in card controller. That's because card controller I have not changed at all. The card controller needs to be still edited. Okay, so we'll do that next. Go over to the card controller, and the first thing, let me close this one, product controller, and the first thing to be changed is the index action method. So here you can see that I have now got a card, and where the current card is obtained from the logged in user, because I'm now passing the user.identity.name card service.get card async. So if you look into the definition in the card service, it needs the user ID. Okay, so user ID was got from user.identity.name. What is identity? This is system security.claims principal controller base.user. Okay, so if you go into the definition, pick the definition, you'll get it from the metadata claims principal. Okay, controller base from metadata. And if the cart is null, if no cart exists, create a new one, like cart, new cart user ID equals user.identity.name, and then await context.carts.add async, passing the cart object here, new cart object, and then save the changes asynchronously. Okay, because the context has got carts, context, this is the, again quickly, if you peek into the definition, it has got, this is the product context. Okay, and this context has got cart, product context has got cart. Alright, so, and then return view the cart, return the cart view with the cart details, and then this is the HTTP post request, add to cart. So that also needs to be changed. So here this part is alright. Model state, if model state is valid, and from here up till right till the ending bracket, I'll have to change it, rewrite with the code that I've got. So once more, let me copy from here. Okay. Still there are lots of errors. So let's see quickly. See, the await operator can only be used with an async method. So the first thing is that I need to make this async. Change the signature to make it async method, and then this will be on task. iAction result, add to cart. Now everything has changed. That's magic, isn't it? To make it async, which is the need of the hour, because we are dealing with a scaled application, and there could be, we don't want any thread to be blocked because of the synchronous operation. We want everything to be asynchronously handled. So I needed to create a type task on the action result, iAction result, rather than returning iAction result directly, okay, or action result directly. Now the last thing that I need to do is that remove method. Okay, so here I just highlight both the lines of code and paste it with the thing that I have got on my clipboard, and then again you can see that lack of async method and task keyword is bringing all this problem. So let's do it quickly. action result, and into the remove method I'm passing the product ID. Now everything is fine. Control S, Control Shift B to build the application, and it succeeded. Alright, we are getting there. We are getting quite close to finish. Hi guys, now the time has come for the final migration of the database base schema, so that we have this card table and items table. So let's use tools, command line, and developer command prompt. This time let us use the bash command prompt rather than using the your package manager console. So I'll got this command .NET entity framework migrations add cart and cart items. So click on enter. No project was found. Okay. So I've got to just bring it to the project directory. So I have got this directory. All right. So change it to shopping e-commerce shopping cart ASP.NET 8 cd. So it cannot find the okay, directory is e-commerce. Okay, all right, this is the project folder, I guess. Yes, it should be. Now give this command. So build has started. You can see already some migration is created. More than one DB context was found. Okay, specify which one to use. Use the context parameter. All right. So I've got this product context as well as the this one. I have to use the product context. So I give it the correct command, dash context, product context. We succeeded. All right. So this one, it has created e-commerce identity context model snapshot. This file has been created. All right. Now let's give the database update command. So database entity framework database update context product context again. There is already an object named products in the database. Okay, products in the database. Let us see what happens. Now as you can see that there is already an object named products in the database, because I actually manually recreated the schema by removing the two tables which I have earlier created for the sake of draft, and I have dropped them. I had this problem. So what happened is that in this file was created as a matter of just running this latest database update, and in this file I have actually given a condition. Now created a condition. Either I could just get rid of migration builder.create table, or for a more dynamic solution I got it from the chat GPT that if migration builder.select SQL select one from information schema.tables where table name equal to products dot any Okay, then you create the table, otherwise not. Okay, so let's run the entity framework database update once more. Database update command. You can see the build has again started. There is already an okay build started, build failed. Use .NET build to see the errors. Okay, so let's see. This also doesn't work. So it says that operation builder SQL operation doesn't contain definition for any and no accessible extension method any accepting a first argument of this type could be found. This has come from this. Alright, so show potential fixes, fix with Copilot. No, I will not do that. I'll comment out this portion, save it, and then rerun this command. So done. Everything is done. Now all the tables might have been created. Let's see it quickly. Refresh. Local DB, databases, e-commerce flower DB tables, and this time you have got dbo.cart items, dbo.cards, dbo.products. All right. So you can see the code is still available. The data is still available. View data. Okay, so these flower names with their photo strings, photos as string are available, but cart items, view data, it will be empty. All right, and similarly db.cards is also empty, no data. Now let's run this application. Final condition is to run the application. Hello, just now one more thing is left before I can run this application successfully. So that is app.map default controller route. Now if you ask the Copilot, it says to me app.map default controller route is a method in ASP.NET Core that sets up a default route for your application. This default route follows the pattern controller, home controller, and action, index action with ID. Here is a breakdown of what it does. So I mean, you might have already understood home controller is our product controller. If no controller is specified in the URL, it defaults to the home controller. This method simplifies routing by providing a conventional route that many applications can use without additional configuration. Now, it's the time for the application to run again. So click on HTTPS icon. So now login, test at hotmail.com. I've got this one item. I can add more item, add to cart. Okay, show cart 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and if I now log out and log in as something else, say test at gmail.com, login. So see, there is no data. All quantity are 0. But at the same time, if I log out and relog in as test at hotmail.com, see, it is the data that is being preserved. Okay, so now let's do a couple of more tests. Now, let's log out, log in as gmail.com, test at gmail.com, and click on add to cart. Some item 3, add to cart, account item, and then last one, add to cart. Click on OK, show cart, test at gmail.com. So log out, log in as test.gmail.com. so you got exactly the same card that you left last time. And if you now log out, log in as test at hotmail.com, you get the Hotmail equivalent product cart. All right. Finally, thanks to all of you for watching. And you've got a comment, please drop it below the description in the comment box below. if you want me to cover any topic of your choice, you can put it in a comments, and also don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button, and also press the bell icon notifications so that you are notified whenever I'm going to upload any such interesting ASP.NET Core or any other video. Thank you very much.